Hello and welcome to the tutorial for the code analysis tool Sonarqube. This is going to be a very useful tool in this class going forward as you guys learn about code analysis and its importance and also bugs and vulnerabilities in code. This is the first part of the tutorial, and I'll explain a little bit later why we'll have two parts for this tutorial. This is mainly for you guys to understand how to use this tool and to understand how to install it and set up everything accordingly. This is a tutorial that is done impromptu, so I'm pretty much following their documentation and also their setups, so you can follow along with me as I'm installing it on my computer, setting it up, and also we're gonna go and analyze a project towards the end of this tutorial. So Sonarqube. Sonarqube, like I said, it's a code analysis tool or code analyzer. It supports various different programming languages, as you can see on their website here. Over 20 plus programming languages. For the purpose of this class, we'll focus on Java mainly. And if Professor Balsari decides to give you guys any other assignments and or to use this tool using multiple languages, then he'll direct you as to do it. So like I said, it supports over 20 plus programming languages. It also supports multi-language projects, as you can see here on their website, meaning that you can basically have a web development project or web a web project composed of like various languages such as like HTML, CSS, Java, or JavaScript combined together in a project. And what this tool would do is then take all your files in the directory which your project is in and analyze all of them and give you guys a detailed report for it. So before we get into more details, I want to mention that all the links that I'm visiting during this tutorial, all the packages that I'm installing, all the dependencies and everything else um, are being done so on a Mac OS. So I'm going to show you guys. So I own a MacBook Pro, so it's on a Mac OS Sierra version 10.12. You can also do it on a Windows computer, PC, or Linux. But Linux and Mac OS are pretty much going to be the same. So you want to follow this tutorial if you have a Linux-based system, since it's a Unix-based system. So for Unix-based systems, you can follow this tutorial pretty much step by step. Emulate what I'm doing to set up everything. But if you have a Windows-based system, you might want to go back and look at the documentation for each step that or for each packet, or for each thing that I'm doing, basically throughout it. So Sonarqube. Sonarqube, you can access sonarqube.org. There's two versions of this product. There's one version you can use online, and there's one version that you can install locally. So coming back to why we need to have two parts for this tutorial is because we're gonna do a first part where we set up everything locally on my machine, and you guys can follow along and set it up on your guys' machines. And we're gonna do another part where I'll show you guys how to use this tool online. So like I said, this is a code analyzer. It provides, this is like a snippet of the tool basically, or a snapshot of it. It provides a detailed report of like any bugs, vulnerabilities, and it also does testing over the files that you provide or over the directories that you provide. It analyzes code line by line, and it just used to improve like quality assurance in your code semantically, and inspect it as well, and detect any like issues or any, like I said, bugs or vulnerabilities that you might have. So let's dive right into this. It is important to note, in order to install Sonarqube and use it with Java more specifically, you have to have some sort of package dependency tool installed, such as Maven or Gradle. For this tutorial, I'm going to install Maven, and I'm going to walk you guys right through it. So first of all, let's download Sonarqube. So to download Sonarqube, you're going to visit their website. You have a download button here. I've already done so. So upon clicking this, you're going to go, and this zip file is going to get installed on your computer. Okay. If you unzip this, like I'm doing so right now, So upon unzipping this, you can see these are all the files that Sonarqube installs on your computer. There's no executable. What this is basically is Sonarqube, their foundation is providing you guys with a web server in which their application is hosted locally on your computer. Um, and I'll show you guys how to start this up. So we're going to start this up. We're not going to be able to do a lot of things with it because we don't have all the other dependencies installed, such as Maven, like I mentioned before. But upon unzipping this, I have it in my downloads folder. I'm going to go into my terminal, and we're going to go to the folder where it is installed, in this case into downloads. So I'm going to cd into my downloads folder. And as you can see, I'm going to go into the folder in, or the directory in which I have Sonarqube installed, which is the same as this one here. You want to go into your bin inside of here, and you can see inside of the bin you have multiple licensing versions or multiple executables, if you might call it so, although they're not. But inside of each of these folders, depending on what kind of operating systems you have, you can start up the web server. So since I have a Mac OS, I'm going to go inside of the Mac OS Universal. If you have a Linux, you would go into Linux, or if you have a Windows, you would go into Windows. It's very important to note that you have to look to see if you have a 64 or 32-bit version of Linux or Windows. For Mac OS, that's not a problem because it's a universal 64-bit version for all MacBooks. So I'm going to go into the Mac OS version. As you can see here, I have a sonar.sh file, which you have in all of the other ones as well. So as you can see, you have it in the Linux. In the Windows, you have like an actual executable you can start up. And in the Mac OS, again, we have the Sonar. So I'm going to actually start this up. And if you just start it up like that, it's going to say the usage of it is as follows, right? So the usage is execute this followed by start, stop, restart, status, or dump. What this does is, again, start up that server that we're talking about. So we're going to do sonar.sh and then followed by start. So as you can see here, it's starting Sonarqube and it says started Sonarqube. The default port that is being used to start up the server, it's localhost 9000. So if you go to localhost 9000 upon starting the server on your terminal, like I showed you to, it's going to start up the Sonarqube application or server, or application on the server that they provided locally. So let's wait for a little bit for it to start. It says all systems operational, loads up the application, and as you can see, this is like more documentation similar to what they have on their website. First thing you want to do is basically log in. You can do so by clicking here or here. So log in. The username and password are both admin. So username is admin, password is admin. I'm going to log in. And it says welcome to Sonarqube, right? And it says want to quickly analyze the first project, follow these 2 easy steps, right? For now, we're gonna disregard this since we don't have everything installed. So once you get to this step, you can skip this tutorial, and we'll get back to it. So as you can see here, they have a distribution of the Sonarqube application or code analysis tool on your port 9000. You have your projects, which I haven't analyzed any projects yet. Using it, you have like issues, rules, quality profiles. So you have your coding rules basically here, which is for Java, you have some rules. For C# you have some rules. You can add some rules as well, and you can modify or you can like filter them depending on whether you think they're bugs, they're major bugs, they're multi-threading bugs, or if they're vulnerabilities. So these are already done for you. You don't have to do anything unless you want to add some more rules that you think might influence the quality of your code that are not covered by Sonarqube. Then you have your quality profiles. So here they have profiles depending on each programming language. You don't have to worry about any of these. For administration, you have some settings based on like the general aspects of the application, or based on the programming language. So you don't have to worry about any of these. So once you get here and you skip the tutorial that I showed you, then we're gonna have to basically move further into towards installing like a package dependency tool, like I said. In order to do so, I'm going to go to Maven Apache org, which is Apache Maven. Like I said, it is a software project management and a comprehension tool, which is a package dependency management tool, basically. It helps you manage a project's build. It helps you manage a project's installing of the dependencies. And pretty much it has a central repository where it pulls all the dependencies that you indicate that you want to use in a project. So in order to download this, it's pretty self-explanatory. You're going to go to their download link, and then you're going to go to the Apache Maven 3.5.2, which is their latest version, .tar.gz. So you're going to want to click on this link. Upon clicking on the link, which I already done so, you're going to download this zip file, this tar.gz file. So this tar.gz is gonna go in your downloads folder, and we're gonna want to unzip it. They have for you guys, they have installation information, installation steps, how you can unzip it, install on your computer. So if you click on install here, like I done, it says installing Apache Maven, and it walks you through some detailed steps depending on whether you have a Windows-based system or a Unix-based operating system installed. So since I'm doing everything on a Unix-based operating system, it says here Mac OS. They give you some tips. So first and foremost, we want to use this command here to unzip the package that we just installed. So I'm just going to copy this. It is a pretty self-explanatory command. It's a standard Unix command for unzipping packages. But first of all, let me make sure I am in the right directory. So I'm in a Sonar directory right now. I'm going to go back to my downloads where I have the Apache Maven. And I'm just going to do tar xv zf and then Apache Maven. So you have it all. So that pretty much unzipped it. Then I'm going to move this Apache Maven. You don't have to move it for the purpose of this tutorial. I'm going to move it since I'm going to set up some paths later. So I'm going to move it into my documents, and I'm going to move it into programs. So as you can see here, I moved it into my programs. Let's quit PowerPoint, which opened up. So it is in my programs directory right now. It is very important to know where you have this Apache Maven that you unzipped. You can leave it in your downloads folder. You can move it in another directory like I've done so. And it is also important to know where you have your Java JDK installed on your machine. Usually your JDK is going to be in here. So it is going to be in library, Java virtual machines, JDK, whatever version you have. I have 1.8, contents.home. So this is your Java home directory. So you have to look for it on your own machine. And as for Maven, in this case, we're gonna go where we moved Maven. So we're gonna go to Documents, Programs, and then we have CD Apache Maven. Correct. So going back here, I have my Java path, which is here. I am inside of that directory. I have the Apache Maven, which I am inside of that directory. You can see here. And you can see that for Unix-based operating systems, they give you tips to set your environmental variable value and add the Apache Maven to your path. Sometimes when you unzip it, it automatically adds to your path, but usually you have to add it manually. To check to see if Maven has been added to your path, you would just want to check the version of Maven, and you just do Maven V. And as you can see, it says command not found. That is because I have not added Maven into my path yet. We're going to have to use MVN as a command in the terminal later in order to package up the project and then test it out. So it is very important for us to set up that path. So we're gonna do so right now. You can see here they're asking you to do an echo on the Java home, and then they're asking you to export the path where you install your Maven into the Java home path. So we're gonna have to do that right now. Okay, coming back. We left off where we had to set up the path of Maven in order to use the Maven commands on the terminal. So, like I said, go to where you have your Java home installed, copy that path. Then you want to go and do echo this command Java home followed by your Java home path. So echo, and you want to do Java home followed by a Java path. As you can see, this looks exactly the same as that. I'm going to hit enter, and it's just going to return the home or the home directory where your JDK is installed. Then you want to do export, and you want to do export path equals, and then this path would be where you have your Maven installed. In my case, remember we moved it into programs, so this is the path where I have my Maven installed, but you want to do the bin directory of that, right? So right now we're going to cd into the bin, and then we're going to do a pow to get the directory of that bin followed by this command, which is path. So right now, upon doing both of these commands, so you saw we did echo Java home followed by where I had my Java JDK installed, which returned this line here. And then I did export path equals, and I put the path of where I have my Apache Maven unzipped, followed by path. And then now, if we do maven.v, it should return this. So if you've done this correctly, after you do these two commands here, the echo and then the export path, if you do maven.v or maven/v, or maven-v, I apologize, it should return the Apache Maven 3.5.2 because and this should match with the version of Maven that we have here, which is 3.5.2. So that's all you need to know about Maven in terms of like installing it and setting it up. So now we can go back to Sonarqube. We have it installed. It is in our downloads in my case. And we started the server, and we left off where we went to localhost 9000, which we can go to again. So we went to localhost 9000, and now we have to pretty much do a code analysis over a project. So in order to do so, you are going to go here in the top right corner. You're going to click on help, then tutorials, then analyze a new project. Provide a token. It says generate a token. You can just enter a name for the token. In this case, we can name it CSE 464 tutorial test token, for example. You can copy this token and store it somewhere if you want to then use it to reference the same project. I'm going to copy it and just leave it. For now, you're going to click continue. It's as you can see here, it created a token. Then it says run analysis on your project. What kind of programming language are you running? We're going to run Java. And it says you're developing primarily in Java. What is your build technology or your build dependency package? So as you guys saw before, we installed Maven. So we're going to select Maven. And then here on the right hand side, it gives you the specific Maven command to run in the directory where we have the project, or in the projects folder. Because we don't have a project yet and we need to create a Java project, we're going to go ahead and do that. But first of all, let's open up the official documentation of the Sonarqube scanner from Maven. So you're going to click here. You're going to open the documentation. And here you can see what versions of Maven are compatible with Sonarqube, and we're going to go through some initial setups. So let's do that first before we create a project. So upon scrolling down, you have an initial setup. So we have to modify the settings.xml file, which is in our Maven directory. So the way you locate that is you go in your Apache Maven directory, you're going to go into conf, and you have your settings.xml. You're going to open this file up. So we have to set some plugin groups, profiles, and some dependencies on this settings.xml file. So as you can see, the first thing is the plugin groups. You have to be very careful with this XML file because most of it is commented out. So the way to know if something is commented out in XML is the comments start with this and they end with this. So this is a comment in XML. So we can basically remove everything that is commented out, which I am doing so right now. The settings, it is very important not to comment this out because this is the beginning of your settings.xml. You can note here that they don't have anything after settings, but we have a Apache Maven version set and everything like that. So do not remove these lines. You can remove everything that is commented out, which I'm doing so right now. Removing proxies, servers. So pretty much everything but what we need to have. So I removed everything. So you want to remove everything basically from this file and just leave plugin groups, profiles, and that is it. And this has to be wrapped by settings. So plugin groups, you can actually remove everything that you have. So it's easier for you guys. You can remove everything that you have between settings and setting. So between the opening and the closure of settings, and you can just copy everything that you have in here, which I'm doing so right now. The alignment of this is kind of off. So as you can see, I removed everything in this file that I had between the opening of settings and the closure of settings, and I left only the content that I copied from their initial setup. Okay, I'm going to save this file. I'm going to close it out, and then we're going to move on. So these next settings are dependent on where you have the directory of the project that you're trying to analyze. So because we don't have a project that we're analyzing, we're going to go ahead and create one. I'm using Eclipse to create the project, and I'm going to go ahead and open up Eclipse, click on File, click on New, and it's very important to click on Maven Project. So the location, I'm just going to use the default workspace location. I'm going to click Next. For here, it doesn't really matter what you select. You can just select whatever is standard already selected for you by Eclipse. You're going to hit Next. Group ID and artifact ID. It is very important for you guys to remember not to use for group ID or artifact ID any capital letters, because it's going to cause issues later on in the project. So the group ID, for example, I'm just going to leave asu.edu. In artifact ID, we can just do CSE 464. We can do tutorial 1 project. So as you can see, the group ID is the first thing that comes up in your package name, So the package name of the project, and then the artifact ID is whatever comes after that. So we're going to click finish. And as you can see here, we created a new project. So you're going to expand this project. You're going to go into your source main Java, and they created an app.java for you, which is just a standard hello world in Java. So if you look here inside of this project that they created, because it's a Maven project, you're going to have Maven dependencies, which is your JUnit tests, and you're going to have a POM XML. So if you double click on the POM XML, you're going to want to go here, go to the XML like this, or you can go and you can edit it with the XML editor or something like that. The easiest way of doing it is just like double click on it and then go into POM XML. It's going to take you to the overview first. You want to go into the POM XML to see the actual XML version of it. So you can see here you have like a group ID and artifact ID. This is pretty much where you set up your Maven dependencies. We're not going to play with this at all. It's all set up for you. Unless you have any dependencies that you want to install for your project, you don't want to mess up with this, since this is pretty much the setup that Maven does for your project. So now we have a project folder and we can move on by doing something with it. So right now you can see we don't have any coding that we did. We just have a systemout.println hello world here, and you can see we have the package that we created, and we have a public class app followed by the static void main method. So it says here analyzing a Maven project, and it says it consists of like the following commands. Basically, you don't have to worry about anything other than this first command, which is maven clean verify sonar. What this does is it verifies to make sure that you have sonar properly installed, and then you can run a maven command in your terminal. So in order to run this command, we're going to go back to our terminal, and we're going to go to where we have that project created. So remember where we have this project created. In my case, I have a workspace for Eclipse where all my projects go, and that is in my documents, and that is in my workspace. So as you can see here, all my projects in Eclipse are in this directory. So we're gonna cd into the specific project that we created, and it is CSE 464 tutorial project. We're gonna go here, and you can see this matches everything. So it has a POM XML, it has a source and a target. So once you are in here in this directory, now we can go ahead and copy this command, which is maven clean verify sonar, paste it into the terminal, and just let it run. What this does is it verifies sonar, it verifies Maven, and makes sure that you have everything working in your project, meaning that you have sonar installed, that it is running, and then you have Maven installed for your project. So we got a build failure, as you can see here, and let's look at the error for it. So let's see, Sonarqube. It says HTTP my server 9000 cannot be reached. And this error, it is caused by the way that we set up the settings.xml file. So we're going to go back into settings.xml. So remember, settings.xml was where you have your Maven installed, Apache Maven, in your conf, and settings.xml. And we're going to open this up. And remember here, we just copied the plugin groups and profiles. Inside of the profiles, you can see that inside of the properties, you have an optional settings. It says optional URL to server, default value is HTTP localhost 9000. So we don't have to change this. We don't have to add anything here. So we can just remove this because this is causing the build error. You can leave the properties empty. You can save it, close it out. And then let's run again the command that we ran earlier, which is the maven clean verify sonar inside of the projects directory. So let's run this again. It is compiling the sources. It is testing it out. Let's see if this will work. So as you can see, we have a build success. this is what you want to aim for. You want to go back up and make sure you don't have any build errors. These warnings are fine, but make sure you don't have any errors, right? So it says test run 1, failure 0, error 0, skip 0, compared to the other one, which was a build failure. So if you look here at the bottom, it says build success. So once you get the build success, you can clear it out. And now we are ready to actually run the code analysis on this project. So we're going to go back. We're not going to need the documentation anymore, so you can exit out of it. And once we are back here in the tutorial, you have a command which you have to run, which is this one. And we're going to have to run in the same spot where we ran the last command, which is inside of your project's directory, for the project being, in this case, CSE 464 tutorial. So this command, what it does is it pretty much points your code analysis tool to the specific directory where you're running the command in, which is the directory of my project, right? And what it does is it says, okay, on HTTP localhost 9000 is where we started the server, Sonarqube, and then the login, which is our specific profile, which we use admin, is determined by this token that we created, right? So this is the token of the project, which determines the project that we're analyzing, and it also determines the login that we created, right? So you want to copy this whole thing. We're going to go back to your terminal, paste this up, hit enter, and this should start analyzing the code in this specific project. So remember, in this project we didn't do any coding. We just had the standard hello world system out print line. So there should not be any built error or bugs, right? So let's go back. You can click on finish this tutorial. It is important, if you want to keep on running the command to analyze it, you might want to save this somewhere. So I'm just going to hit Command C and copy it, and you can click on finish this tutorial. You can refresh your page, and now see we have this specific project, right? So we have the CSE 464 tutorial 1 project, which matches this project, right? And you can see we have 0 bugs, 0 vulnerabilities in the project, 1 code smells, and then you can see the languages are XML and Java that we have in this project. So, and it says that the code analysis passed. So we're gonna expand this, and you can see here this is the snapshot that we saw before on their website, similar to this one. It pretty much tells you how many lines of code you have. So we have 29 lines of code, out of which 21 are in XML and 8 are in Java, right? Which is accordingly to this. We have 25, 26 in XML, and we might have some more XML somewhere else. And then we have 9 lines of code in Java. So it's pretty accurate in detecting how many lines of code you got. You can see we have 0 bugs, 0 vulnerabilities. For code smells, we have 1 code smell. Code smell is basically what they think you should do in order to make your code better. It's not necessarily a bug. It's not necessarily something that would cause your project not to run. And as you can see, this is an A grade. So basically, these grades, the green grades, indicate whether your project is an A, B, C, or even a worse grade. We're getting A's for everything, which makes our project to pass. So you don't necessarily have to fix this code smell, but I'll show you, if you click on it, I'll show you how you can work around with the tool and see what's causing it, right? So it says replace this use of system out or system.err by a logger. So in Java, you can do loggers instead of system outs, and it's more politically correct to do so. So it says it was detected 4 minutes ago, and it's on line 7. So as you can see here, it's on line 7. So if you expand this out, like this, click on the 2 dots, it says a non-compliant code example would be system out print line my message, and a compliant solution would be logger.log my message, right? So you can actually click on this as well, and it'll show you which line of code it's referring to. So it's referring to our system out print line, which is this one here. So in order to fix this, we are going to create a logger. So we're going to create a logger. I already have a solution for it, and we'll copy this solution. So we're going to create a logger outside of the class. and we got another error saying that the CSE 464 project, because, okay. So we're gonna create a logger. It already automatically imported the Java util logger, right? And instead of having systemout.println, we can have our logger.log, and then we can do a level dot. We can do severe, and then the message would be hello world. So note that their indication was to do a logger.log hello world, right? Logger.log my message. In this case, they updated the logger for Java, and you have to like include a level severe. So this is not always going to be accurate to what you have to do in order to fix it. So it is very important for you guys to note that when you try to actually fix some code, right? So we defined a logger, and then we did logger.log. I saved this. I'm going to go back and run the command that we ran before, which is the Maven Sonar, which we found by going into this tutorial here. So I'm going to run the Maven Sonar command in order to do another code analysis on this. And then I'm going to go back to localhost 9000 once this is done. So it says build success. So I'm going to go back to localhost 9000, refresh this whole thing. And as you can see, the last analysis was done at 143, which it is important for you guys to check this just to make sure that the analysis synchronized with the analysis that's being done on the actual server online. So we can see that this was done about a minute ago. And you can see this passed, and we have 0 code smells. So that means that we fixed everything. There's no bugs, no vulnerabilities, nothing pretty much that we have to worry about. And you can see like we have 1 unit tests that were being performed. So this is the unit test that was being performed. Let's go back. So you click on unit test, and you click on where it was performed, and you can see how they performed the unit test. So this is a good example for you guys to see how you can perform unit tests on your own code, right? So this is the code to pretty much perform the unit test. So they did an assert true. They tested apptest.class. And they did a test name. Okay, now let's go over and actually try to modify this app.java so it has a bunch of bugs and issues that we can fix, so you guys see how some bugs would look like in the report. So for that, I already have some code with some bugs. I'm going to copy and paste this into this. Okay. To make sure everything is okay. Okay, so right now we fixed everything. I added some code. We're going to see what it's going to complain about, and we're going to see how we can go about and fix it. So remember, I saved this after I did my coding. I'm going to run the same command, the sonar command, to analyze the project. We're going to wait for it to build. See here, there's like a bunch of warnings that start showing up. So 1 warning, 2 warning. It says build success, but you're going to see it has like a bunch of bugs. So you're going to go to projects. You can see this already synchronized because it was passing, now it's failed. But you can also like go ahead and go to localhost 9000 and refresh it like this just to make sure it's refreshing. So here you can see now we have 72 lines of code because we added all these lines. It says that it's failed, and it found 5 bugs and 11 code smells. So let's go inside of it and let's go look at the bugs first, right? So you can see these letters changed, these letter grades changed because I told you guys it can go from A to D basically. So right now we have 5 bugs, which is a C grade, right? So it says reliability rating is C when there's at least 1 major bug, right? So we have 5 major bugs. The code smell is a B. Maintainability rating is B when the technical debt ratio is greater than 5%. So for us, it's greater than 5%, so it's a B because we have 11 code smells. And that's why it failed. And you can see here quality gate failed. It says because reliability rating on the new code that we just put in is worse than A. So they pretty much, the reliability, they combine all these grades and they come up with a grade which is C in our case. which is, it says where when it's at least one major bug, but we have 5 and we have 11 code smells, so that's why it failed. So let's go into the bugs. And before we go into the bugs, like I said before, so everything's based on grades. They do an average of grades that you have based on your bugs, code smells, and vulnerabilities. We don't have any vulnerabilities, as you can see, and that's what they're basing everything that they do in this case. And you can see we have 1 unit test and we have 0 duplicated blocks. So let's go into bugs. And we can go and look at them one by one. So we can go and look at them from bottom up. So it says this branch cannot be reached because the condition duplicates a previous condition in the same sequence of if-else statements. So if we expand this, we know this is on line 49, right? So we know this is on line 49. You can actually, so you can either click on these dots, so you can get this suggestion that pops up for you to see what's a compliant code example and a non-compliant code example. Sometimes you can see how you can fix your bugs from here, but a lot of the times, like we saw in the logger example, this is not super accurate. So a more accurate way of doing it is actually clicking on the writing like I'm doing so, and this will go inside of your code where you have the actual issue, right? So like we said, this is on line 40, it starts on line 49, and this is the issue that we had, right? So you can see here that it highlighted if hit equals 1, and then we have an else if hit equals 1, right? Which is the whole purpose of this, right? So the branch cannot be reached because it duplicates a previous condition, right? So we can have like an else if with the same condition, right? So we can just remove this since we already have this if hit equals 1 before, and they also hinted that over here. So that's one issue, right? Now we can go here and it says a null pointer exception could be thrown. Test string is nullable here. Remember, these bugs that I'm covering right now are like some main, not so major, some minor bugs that could make your code really bad depending on how big your project gets. These are some standard bugs. So let's go into the null pointer exceptions, right? It says a null pointer exception could be thrown. A test string is nullable here, right? So it says int check nullable length equals test string dot length. So it says it says here test string can be null because our method, which is the public boolean test1 method, takes in a string. Now here, this test string can be null, and because of that, if we do in test string dot length, you're pretty much doing null dot length, which will throw a null pointer exception, right? The way we fix this really easy is if we do an if statement. So we can do an if check nullable. We can do if test string not equals null, right? So we handle that case, that exception when it is null. And we can introduce this in the if statement, right? So we fix that. Now we can go up and it says remove this conditional structure or edit its code blocks so that they're not the same. So this is not very intuitive as in what it means. So we can click on it again and it says remove this conditional structure or edit its code blocks so that they're not the same. Okay. So let's see what the problem here is. So it says that this if statement, it checks if checksum greater than 100, system out print line checking the sum, else system out print checking the sum. So this conditional block, this conditional if statement here is doing the same thing as the condition outside of it, else, right? So it's printing out the same thing, right? What we can do really quick to fix it, so we can do checking the checksum inside of the if statement. So, and then checking the checksum outside of the if statement. So basically the condition of the checksum being 100, the outcome of that condition was the same here. As you can see, these two were the same. Now they are different because we're printing out different things. So we covered that bug as well. You can also go to your bugs by just clicking here. So we can go to this bug here and it says remove this useless assignment. App name already holds the assigned value along all execution paths. So what we have here is a constructor and we have app name equals app name. Notice we have a private static final string app name, which is CSE 464, but then we have app name equals app name, and then our constructor takes in a string name app name. So here it is because we didn't specify which app name we're referring to, right? So what we can do is do this dot app name equals app name. And let's see if this fixes. So it says remove final modifier of app name. So because it's final, we can assign it. So this dot app name equals app name. Really quick fix, just the main constructor assignment. And we go and we have the last bug. It says remove or correct this useless self assignment, which was app name equals app name. So these two bugs pretty much cover the constructor and the app name assignment. So once we covered all these bugs and we fix them, what we can do is then go ahead and run the command again to analyze the code. We can go back in the projects, and as you can see, this report was ran at 1:45, so it's probably not the latest one. So we'll wait for the latest one to refresh. It says build success. So now we can just refresh the page, and now we can see this was ran at 1:52, and now it passed, and we have 0 bugs. So as you can see, like I said before, this will pass if you have 0 bugs, although the grade that the quality gate is given is a combination of all the grades, which include the code smells. So we have 11 code smells, which is a lot of code smells, but these are more technical suggestions than issues that you have in your code. So let's go inside of them and see what the issues that they might indicate are. So for example, it says replace this use of system out or system error by logger, right? So if we click on it, instead of having system out print line, they're asking us to do the same thing that we did before, which is use the logger and print out using the logger. So that's not a big deal, right? But there are some things that you might want to remove, right, that are useless, that the code's not even getting to. So let's see, remove this useless assignment to local variable, check nullable length, right? So it says it's a useless assignment, and let's look at the code. It's because we're not using the check nullable length inside of this. So we are setting it inside of the if statement, but we're not ever using it, right? So if we're not using it, there's no point in having this if statement to begin with, right? Or there's no point in like doing anything inside of this if statement. So we can just like remove it as it is because it's not doing anything. So it's just like suggestions, small suggestions to make your code look better, to make your code more correct according to them. Now, what they think it might be correct might not be your version of correct, but most of the times it's just like things to help you clean up the code. In the case of the system out print, you don't have to change it to logger because that will be, you know, a hassle to do logger.log and then put the level and then put the hello world, or, you know, checking the checksum instead of the if statement all the time. So system out print might be easier. But in case of this if statement that we just removed, since it's useless, it's taking up space in your project or in the files of your project. So it is worth removing it. This is pretty much it that I have for you guys. You can go ahead and play with this. You can go ahead and, you know, go into overview, create vulnerabilities, create more bugs, fix them, and this pretty much this code analysis tool will get or report would get more complicated as your project gets bigger and bigger, right? So notice right now we only have an app.java file in our project and we have a pom.xml. So that's pretty much it. And we're only worried about the Java code to begin with. So this concludes the first part of the project. I hope you guys understood how to install Sonarqube, start the Sonarqube server, also install the package dependency for it, run all the dependencies, modify those files, and everything else. If you have any questions, as always, you can ask me during office hours, or you can also reach me through email. And I hope you guys will follow the next part, which will conclude our tutorial for Sonarqube, but we'll also cover the use of it online instead of setting it up locally. Thank you, guys.